Good morning. Good morning, PT on Ice Daily Show. Pulling up YouTube and now Instagram. Good morning, PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Dr. Alexis Morgan, and I am here today representing the pelvic division. Happy Monday. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Let's discuss a huge topic that is virtual care this morning. Virtual care is something that really grew a lot during COVID. And we all kind of had to pivot, right? And try to figure out, okay, how exactly is this done? One of the areas that I feel like is potentially the most surprising about doing virtual care in is pelvic floor health, pelvic floor assessment, pelvic floor physical therapy. A few weeks ago, I did a PT on ice about the virtual care and the subjective exam, and did a whole entire podcast on that. Did not have time to discuss the objective assessments. So today I'm hopping back on to discuss how we do the virtual objective assessment. If you missed last time's podcast, go ahead and rewind back about a month and look for that virtual subjective care, because that's going to be important. And of course, it's going to lay the foundation for this pelvic floor assessment in the objective category. So let's go ahead and just dive right into exactly what we teach and what we do for that objective exam. We talked last time, and we talk all the time in pelvic health, that we are educators, that we really teach people how their body works, and we teach them the truth about their bodies when in fact they've read, unfortunately, online and in magazines and on YouTube and in various forms, they've heard lies, they've heard myths, and they've heard misconceptions. It's very confusing. It's a confusing area of our body, and we get the opportunity to be educators. Part of this objective exam when we are virtual is education. So here's how it goes. It's really a 5-step process. Number 1, tell. Number 2, demo. 3, practice. 4, ensure. And 5 is progress. So let's dive into each of those categories. So with tell, number 1, first you're going to tell them the actions of the pelvic floor. You're going to essentially get them oriented with where the pelvic floor is and what it does. You're teaching, you're telling. So you're going to tell them the actions of the pelvic floor, right? So when it contracts, it goes up. We use the analogy attic, first floor, and basement of the A-frame house here at ICE. So tell them that. So when it squeezes, it goes up into the attic. When you're just chilling, you're hanging out at first floor. We're just at rest at that first floor. That's where life happens, when we're just chilling. Then we go into the basement. That basement is the downward movement towards the feet. The holes expand, they enlarge. That analogy is helpful for someone to understand, helpful for them to kind of visualize that. But generally, that analogy isn't quite enough. And because in this objective exam, you know you're not going to get to give them direct feedback, direct visual or tactile feedback, you've got to go that extra step. So step number 2. So step 1 was tell. Step 2 is demo. So you're going to demo with maybe a video, or your pelvic model that you have. Help them visualize what it is that you just said with that analogy. So looking at the pelvic floor, when it squeezes, it goes up towards your head. When it relaxes, or an effortful relaxation, it opens up and goes away from your body. That's demo. So they can actually see. So tell and demo, these two work hand in hand together. Step number 3 is practice. So you're going to ask the client, okay, I want you to practice that. Go ahead and contract your pelvic floor. Do you feel anything? When they are contracting, you're looking for, on this virtual call, you're looking for any kind of extra little body movements that they may have. If they're holding their breath, if their entire musculoskeletal system rises, they're doing too much. They're putting way too much into that. And so you can cue them and have them, okay, can you do a similar thing? Can you still raise your pelvic floor, but can you do it with your entire body relaxed? Just move your pelvic floor, even if it's a little bit less of a muscular engagement. Practice. You also want to have them do the opposite. So you had them go into that attic. Now you want to have them go into that basement. If they had trouble going into the attic, we definitely want to just move on and go to the basement, because maybe they'll feel that a little bit better. So we go into the basement and we say, okay, I want you to bear down. I want you to push towards your feet. I want you to open up those holes, whatever language they need, and you wait for them to feel that. So we're talking them through this practice. But that's not really all. We've got to go on to step number 4, which is ensure. So you've got to ensure that they're doing what you both think that they are doing, what you both want them to be doing. You've got to ensure. So you're going to ask them some questions like, okay, so we talked about how it, contracts, it closes up, and it goes, your pelvic floor, when you squeeze, raises up like towards your head. Did you feel any of that movement? Are you sure that you felt it go up? Can you feel the difference between up and down, between that attic and that basement? Can you feel a distinct difference? If they can, I'm still reading their answers. And if they're saying, yeah, I think I felt that, I'm not convinced with that. I'm not convinced with a little question mark sounding, yeah, I think I felt that. What we want to hear is, yes, I felt that. It wasn't strong. I didn't feel much, but I definitely felt a difference in that direction. We want to hear that, because from that, we can then progress them. We can, number 5, progress them to teaching what the pelvic floor should be doing in their problematic movements, whether that is double unders, squatting heavy, catching a clean, whatever that might be. We want to teach them what their pelvic floor should be doing. That's, again, beyond the scope of this podcast this morning. And please come on to our courses where we can really dive into that. But realize that 5-step process does not always occur in one session. So tell, demo, practice, and ensure absolutely will go hand in hand together. But it might be a while before you can progress. Because if that person who's like, I think so, I think I felt that, or maybe they're saying like, I didn't feel it at all. I really don't know what you're talking about, Alexis. I didn't feel that. If neither one of you are sure that they felt those movements, you can't go on. You can't go on to the next phases because they have no idea. This little area of their pelvis is like a black box. They can't feel it. They can't move it. How are we supposed to rehab it? We've got to give them homework. We've got to give them projects to work on to be able to feel that. Some examples that I use is I'll send them with a mirror to look at their pelvic floor to see if they see that movement. Or they can use their finger. They can use a finger and insert it vaginally and feel those differences. They can feel that pelvic floor move. Just getting to the point where they can feel that mobility is a really big improvement and can get them to where they can feel that elevation and that depression of the pelvic floor. So a visual tool for them, or maybe a tactile tool for them with their finger. That's kind of a double tactile cue, right? They can feel it with their finger. They can also feel it in their pelvic floor. You might go with just a third option, a single tactile cue. So rolling up a washcloth and sitting on top of that, or straddling over the top of a bouncy ball to be able to feel a little bit of the difference. One of my most commonly used ones for the single tactile is actually tell them to sit in a bathtub where it's super, super still and work on feeling those movements. Because of the pressure of the water and the stillness of the water, they can actually feel any slight movement, particularly if it's still and if it's quiet in there. So that's one of my favorite ways to send them home with homework, to try to get to where they can feel that movement. They can actually engage their pelvic floor, and they can discern the difference between a contraction and that effortful relaxation, or the attic and the basement. You send them home. You repeat all of this on the next visit in about a week or 10 days. Give them that practice to do and follow up with them soon on this. And you're going to go through that same thing. Tell, demo, practice, ensure, see how their confidence is, and then potentially at that point, then we progress. And then we move on to their positions that challenge them or their movements that challenge them, and we educate accordingly. I hope that was helpful for you all to utilize in your own practice and realize that it is challenging to do this if you don't understand your own body and if you don't understand all of these steps. So if you're listening to me today and you're like, "Ooh, I don't really understand how to use my pelvic floor," then you go through these steps. And I guarantee you that when you flip to the other side and you're talking others through this, you being able to relate to them is really going to be able to help, and you can understand that client so much better. Thank you all so much for joining today. I hope this was helpful. I hope you all have a wonderful week. This weekend, I'm going to be in Scottsdale, Arizona with a whole lot of you all. We are so excited to join you all for the 2-day live course. We're going to have a blast down in Arizona. We've got several upcoming courses. So be sure to take a look on ptonice.com, and be sure to register for our newsletter. Everyone always asks us, how do I find out more information? How do I stay up to date on the research? How in this fitness forward pelvic health world that is ICE Pelvic? The way to do it is to register for the newsletter. It comes out every other week. every other Thursday, and we give you all the goods there. So be sure to sign up for that. It's absolutely free. And of course, come on over our to our courses, our live courses, and we're rolling out our last online course of the year right now, and we're going to start fresh in the new year. So we are really looking forward to seeing you all out on the road or online. Thanks for being here.